Alright, so we got the full chapter 1059 summary here. We're going over the full chapter in this video, and this is maybe one of the craziest chapters ever. I mean, there's like so much we're going to be talking about here that we weren't able to go over in yesterday's spoiler video, so let's just get right into it. The chapter begins with a ship sailing in the seas near Sphinx Island, the homeland of Whitebeard. Marco is leaving the ship and thanks the crew for taking him there. The ship is Red Hair Pirate's ship. Shanks asks Marco if he is going to join them. Marco tells Shanks to stop joking. He's tired of being the babysitter of great pirates. Shanks tells Marco not to exaggerate because he's not a handful. Ben Beckman tells Shanks that he is, while their Nakamas laugh at his captain. Everyone says goodbye to Marco as he flies towards Sphinx Island. We're finding out what happened to Marco after Wano, and apparently he hitched a ride with Shanks. Because, we know that Shanks showed up a couple chapters back to conveniently save everyone from Green Bull, but also we know he was there to promote Film Red, of course. But yeah, if anybody was curious about what was going on with Marco, this is what happened, and he was also even offered to join the Red Hair Pirates. Wouldn't that be insane if he joined them? A flashback begins. It takes place in Wano during the night of the festival after Ryoku's attack. Luffy says, "What? You're not coming with us? Become a pirate." Yamato says, "I'm sure you all noticed too, right? The incident with the forest guy was only resolved thanks to someone's powerful haki. Kaido may have fallen, but now we have all those guys coming after Wano. I cannot allow it. How could I go on adventures while I'm worried about this country? I'm sure we both feel the same way." So the rest of this sequence is essentially just Yamato giving her reason as to why she ultimately didn't really join the Straw Hats. I mean, we saw on the page a couple chapters back that it's because she wanted to relive Oden's adventures, which didn't always start with him just joining Whitebeard and then Roger. He did stuff in Wano too, and it kind of left a sour taste in some of our mouths, but now I guess she's giving more of a better reason, I suppose. And it's that Wano is very vulnerable right now. I mean, we saw Shanks, who was promoting Film Red, had to come and save them from Green Bull. I mean, they could have did it, but it would have been really high diff. So her staying back and not joining the Straw Hats here does make more sense now, although I'm still not fully on board with how Oda originally handled it. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Cook Unity. Cook Unity is the first chef-to-consumer platform delivering freshly prepared, pre-selected meals right to your door weekly. Cook Unity connects a diverse group of talented chefs that cook delicious, inventive meals fresh every day in regional micro kitchens, not warehouse production facilities. Chefs cook meals with real ingredients, nothing artificial, with humanely raised meat and organic ingredients when possible. Cook Unity chefs offer up a wide range of meals with over 7 different dietary preference filters, including vegan, paleo, and gluten-free options. Chefs focus on flavor and inventiveness while leaning into a wide range of different types of cuisines to bring you the best meals possible. Meals are delivered fully cooked, so all you have to do is heat them up. No more cleanup and meal planning. Through a weekly subscription, you can select from a robust and ever-changing menu of handcrafted meals. Also, the subscription is super flexible and you can pause, skip weeks, or cancel at any time. Tonight, I'm eating grilled flank steak with broccolini, made by Chef David Udon. I also got chicken avocado casserole, made by Chef Andreas Mendez, and Penang curry with beef, made by Chef Pimnapat Chancharoen. Guys, I'm being 100% honest here. I wasn't really expecting it to be this good. I've had 3 meals so far, and they honestly taste like they came from a restaurant. And the 2 other things that I really like most about Cook Unity is the portion sizes. They're not small. These meals filled me up, and preparing them is so simple. So guys, go to cookunity.com/Zhoniin or simply check out the link in the description below. Make sure you use my code Zhoniin50 to get 50% off of your first Cook Unity meals, so you can try them out for yourself. Thanks guys. Marco arrives flying where Luffy and the others are. Marco tells Luffy that a suitable ship appeared near Wano and that he's going to leave the island on it. There's a little Marineford flashback when Marco told Jinbei to take Ace's brother with him after Ace's death. Luffy then thanks Marco for helping him during the Summit War. Marco says, "I'm sure Ace would be very happy if he knew how far you've come." Luffy says, "I see." And Marco flies off Wano with one last message for Luffy. He says, "From now on, this is your era. Go forward with determination." And Luffy says, "Of course, I will do." So that's it. That's finally the big moment between Luffy and Marco. Now, maybe we weren't necessarily like on the surface of our minds waiting for this or expecting it, but it is something that has been lingering for the longest time. These two haven't interacted yet, and it's just finally happening now, which is nice because they do have a lot of connective tissue here and a lot of things that just ultimately needed to be resolved with just a few lines of dialogue. Cut to Amazon Lily, the island of women women. Part of the big mountain in the center of the island has been destroyed. Gloriosa says it's the first time that men were able to invade the island so deeply, and that the damage in the city is huge. Hancock says that as long as she's on the island, enemies will keep coming. A new flashback begins. It takes place during the Marines' attacks a few weeks ago. Marines manage to break down the city gateway, but Kuja counterattacks. Marines then order to dispatch the new pacifistas called Seraphim to the front line in order to activate the recording cameras too. Vice Admiral Yamakaji says there's no sight of Hancock yet. Okay, a lot to unpack here. So we saw back in chapter 156, when the warlord system was abolished, the Marines started going after pretty much all of the lingering warlords, one of them being Hancock. And we saw that she wasn't really fazed by it, but we're just ultimately coming back to it now and finding out what had happened with it. Now, also we're seeing the new pacifistas that are supposedly going to replace the warlords. This was first talked about in 905 when Fujitora mentioned this to Green Bull. And later on in this summary, we're going to go more into what these things actually are and what comprises of them, even more so than what we found out in yesterday's spoilers. And this guy Yamakaji here is actually one of the 5 admirals who showed up to the Buster call on Eni's lobby. A little girl with wings and a flame on her back appears in front of Marguerite and Sweet Pea, but they don't want to fight with a kid. The girl, who has star-shaped pupils, shoots a laser with her hand like the pacifistas we already know. Suddenly, Blackbeard's pirate ship appears behind the Marine warships. A powerful seaquake pushes warships off Blackbeard's path to Amazon Lily. Marines say the Sea Kings will notice the seaquake. Teach lands on the island with Katarina Devon and Vasco shot, and he says, "Yeah, I'm here for you, Pirate Empress. There's no way I'm going to let your power fall into the Marines' hands." So this is huge. We're finally seeing Blackbeard come back into the story after like over 100 chapters, and not only that, but like he straight up fights in this chapter, like in an extended battle, and we'll get into it. It's like incredible. But also back in chapter 956 as well, that's pretty sure the last time we saw Blackbeard, and he was essentially reacting to the news about the warlord system being abolished, and he said, "Pack your bags onto the ship. Why let the Marines reap the reward when I stand to gain from this?" And for years we had speculated about what this meant. Like, where is he actually going to go? What is he going to get? And we're finding out here he wanted to go to Amazon Lily so that he could get Hancock's devil fruit power for some reason. Katarina says Hancock has a wonderful face, so she wants Hancock's head to make it her treasure. Teach tells Katarina that she can do whatever she wants as long as they can get Hancock's power. Marines ask Vice Admiral Yamakaji to give them the order to attack Blackbeard, but Yamakaji says they must wait for permission from headquarters. Teach attacks the Marines with the Gurgur no Mi power as he tells Boa Hancock to come out. Koby enters with a group of Marines in Kuja City and tries to reason with Boa Hancock. He says, "Hancock-san, we don't want to use violence. If you come with us, I promise we'll leave immediately." So Koby is another character we're coming back to after like 100 chapters, because back, around the 956 area, that's when he was talking to X-Drake, when we found out that they were like a part of Sword and everything, and X-Drake had asked Koby like, "Hey, where are you right now?" And he said, "I'm on my way to the Island of Women. I'm going to arrest Boa Hancock." And we're finally finding out what had happened with that here. Marigold and Sandersonia tell her sister to stay away because they'll take care of the Marines. However, Hancock heads into battle, and she says, "How ridiculous. I won't be in the hands of either side. I don't want to bow down to anyone." Teach's subordinates ask him to help against a new enemy that appeared. It's a child, but they cannot do anything against him. We see an explosion caused by a laser from the pacifistas, and Teach says, "Huh? It can't be. White hair, brown skin, and black wings?" The kid arrives where Teach is. The kid also has a flame on his back and carries a big sword similar to Mihawk's sword. In fact, the kid looks like Mihawk child version that Oda drew in an SBS. The kid attacks Teach. The cut of his sword parts in 2 pieces the big mountain of the island, and Teach says, "PX, this brat is a pacifista. What the heck is going on?" So this is so crazy. White hair, brown skin, black wings. This means that the new pacifistas are like giant children, and they're also Lunarians as well, but also Mihawk too? Well, not all of them, but this one specifically seems to be like a giant child version of Mihawk, who is also a Lunarian and a pacifista at the same time. So this all kind of makes sense for the most part, because we know that King, seemingly the last of the Lunarians, was experimented on by Vegapunk, maybe, or at least just the world government. And then we saw that Caesar was experimenting on giant children, and Punk Hazard trying to synthesize giants. So that all kind of makes sense. And, the pacifista stuff with the laser technology technology, that's all Vegapunk stuff as well. But him looking like a child version of Mihawk is a big new element here, which implies that Mihawk was also experimented on at some point by the world government. And this could be why Mihawk was the Marine Hunter, maybe because he had a vendetta against them. Now, theoretically, why was Mihawk experimented on by the world government? Well, it could be because of his eyes. I myself and many have speculated that Mihawk has had the perpetual youth surgery performed on him for some reason. I think that's what those spirally eyes indicate. So that could be one of the main reasons as to what's going on with him if he was experimented on at one point and why they have his DNA or whatever. And I also really like that Blackbeard is aware of like what the Lunarians are. It's like a super secret rare thing, and only people with like the deep cut inside knowledge and the secrets of the world really know what's going on, like Big Mom, who already knew what King was, and Blackbeard here, who is like historian essentially. The pacifista attacks Teach again, but he stops the sword with his hockey-coated arm. Teach uses his powers to absorb all that is around him, and he says black hole. Hancock uses slave arrow attack to turn all the nearby enemies into stone, including Helmeppo and Vice Admiral Yamakaji. Koby orders the pacifistas to stop immediately because it could destroy the stone statues with its lasers. Hancock is about to use Perfume Femur attack, but someone stops her. In an impressive double spread, we see that Teach catches Hancock by the neck, and that he has lifted her from the ground in front of the Kuja pirates and Koby, who is next to them. Teach is using the Yami Yami no Mi's power so that Hancock can't use her powers. We discover their new bounties. So yeah, we found out in Blackbeard's fight against Ace that the Yami Yami no Mi can, like, for some reason cancel out Devil Fruit abilities if you, like, touch them. Hancock's new bounty is 1,659,000,000. So this is fitting for her, I think. She's pretty powerful and has a lot of notoriety. And at this point, everyone who is still relevant kind of needs to have a bounty at least 1 billion, right? Teach's new bounty is 3,996,000,000. So this is warranted for sure. He probably should have always had this bounty because we saw that his original new Yonko bounty was 2.2 billion. But considering everything that's happened post Wano, that is kind of low, especially for a character of his standing. And I think Oda realized that, so maybe that's why he just decided to jump it up to the second current highest bounty in the series, number 1 being Shanks. As Teach says this, we see that Katarina Devon and Vasco Shot have been turned into stone. Koby doesn't know what to do in this situation. Teach tells Hancock that he has been patiently waiting to get her power. Hancock tells him that her powers are built upon her own beauty. If Teach kills her, those who have turned into stone will remain in that state. Even the next user of the Mero Mero no Mi will not be able to reverse it. Koby says that Hancock is a bigger problem than he expected. So yeah, new information on the Mero Mero no Mi here, and I'm not necessarily sure why Teach wants her ability. We're not really finding out in this chapter, and I don't think he like wants it for himself because, as she said, the beauty is the big element of making this fruit so broken. And he obviously doesn't have the traditional beauty standard that Hancock does. Teach says this situation looks like it's not going anywhere, right, hero Koby? You did me a favor in the Rocky Port incident. Thanks to you, I was able to defeat Wang Zi and become the boss of the Pirate Island. So that's like a huge reveal here too, because the Rocky Port incident is something that we found out back in chapter 700 when Brand New was revealing the new warlords at the time. And when he introduced Law, he said member of the worst generation and mastermind of the Rocky Port incident, the Surgeon of Death, Trafalgar Law. So apparently Blackbeard was there too, and he defeated Wang Zi in order to become the new boss of the Pirate Island, where his base currently is. And Wang Zi is said to be one of the former members of the Rocks Pirates, so I guess he was like still alive, and that kind of debunks the theory of him being like that big zombie that was a part of Captain John's crew on Thriller Bark. So I guess he's still pretty powerful in his old age, although that's not uncommon for One Piece characters. But this is how Blackbeard knows Koby, because Koby was there as well. Teach says, do you really think if I let her go, she's going to be nice and turn everyone back to normal? And Koby says, if she doesn't turn the soldiers back to normal, we'll be a huge problem. Hancock says, I'll do it if you leave the island. And Teach squeezes her neck tighter. And he says, that is a lie. The moment I let you go, you will turn us into stone. And that will be our end, right? To be honest, I think there's no way a man can't be affected by your powers. It's a difficult situation, so I think I should just kill you. Koby says, don't do it. The number of victims will be too high. And then suddenly someone with powerful hockey appears. It's Rayleigh. And he says, I expected the Marines, but this, even the landscape of the island has been altered. Sorry, Hancock, I'm late. He draws his sword and he says, hey, Whitebeard, Blackbeard's apprentice. It's not very mature of me to say it, but I dislike you. Koby and Teach's subordinates freak out, and Rayleigh keeps talking. Hancock, return everyone to normal. I will be the witness. You all will leave the island without making any stupid moves. Back to Amazon Lily in the present, we see Rayleigh didn't arrive to the island alone. Shakky is with him, and we discover her true identity. Shakky says advancements always bring problems. Thanks to Vegapunk's Seastone warships, the Calm Belt is no longer a safe place. Empress of Amazon Lily from 2 generations ago, former captain of the Kuja Pirates, Shakuyaku. Random big reveal here. The true identity of Shakky, which is former captain of the Kuja Pirates from 2 generations ago. I'm sure some people theorized this, and if you did, congratulations. But I know that the big popular theory around Shakky was that she was a part of Rox's crew, which also still could be true, but this is like huge, right? Also, it's speculated that Shakky and Rayleigh are the parents of Mihawk. I wonder if that's still going to be revealed or not. Rayleigh says, to be honest, things have not been favorable for us. I'm old now, so I wouldn't have been able to defeat the current Blackbeard. Rayleigh says that it seems that the Marines believe that they will be able to replace the warlords with the new weapons they've brought to the island. Marigold and Sandersonian talk about them. At the end of the battle, those two, they didn't have a single scratch, and strangely, one of them looked exactly like our big sister when she was a child. We see a picture of that Seraphim face that the Marines used on Amazon Lily. Indeed, her face is exactly the same as Boa Hancock's face when she was a child, although her pupils are star-shaped. So I think this might give more credence to Mihawk possibly have been experimented on or captured by the world government when he was a child, because we know that that's like Hancock's backstory. She was a slave for a big portion of her life, and you know, they did stuff to her. So it's understandable that they would have her DNA or whatever and synthesize it into what these Seraphim things are. Chapter ends with the Marine ship reporting what happened in Amazon Lily. The Marines say, yes sir, we're landing at Egghead Port. Regarding Captain Koby, who has been kidnapped. In the last picture, we see a page of a newspaper with Koby's photo. Narrator says that Captain Koby, the hero of the Rocky Port incident, has been kidnapped by the Yonko Blackbeard and his pirate crew. His current status is unknown. End of chapter. So that's huge. Blackbeard has Koby now, and it's been reported in the newspaper, meaning that Luffy is eventually going to see this, and I think that's like the main reasoning for this, to give Luffy and Blackbeard more of a conflict, which I think is something that they've really been lacking up until this point in the story. They've only talked about 2 or 3, maybe 4 times, you know, throughout the entire series at this point, and Blackbeard hasn't really done enough to Luffy for them to have like this serious blood feud between like the 2 top pirates that are going to be ultimately fighting for the throne. And since Koby is kind of like the pseudo unofficial third brother of Luffy, naturally he's going to go after him, especially if he knows Blackbeard has him. So I think that's probably what this is leading to, or at least the majority of it. But let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.